Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. With our guy, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, is the NCAA 25 paused? Are you stepping away from the console at this moment? How are we able to interact with you here while that game is potentially active?
Look, I did just lose in triple overtime to Ole Miss. I saved the game and I turned it off for this radio call. Okay.
What kind of play calls are we working with in triple overtime? Why can't you get it done? Lane's out coaching you. He's drawn it up in the dirt on you.
I let them have 2 kickoffs for a touchdown. I actually switched
my God, special
playbook.
teams. The game's 3
Special
phases,
teams.
Preston.
I rehired Brian Polian and it bit me in the butt. I don't know what to say, man. He did my show one time and I liked him, and I just decided to bring him back in, and it cost me here.
That's poor performance. I don't know another way to say it. I mean, how's the game? Is it fun? I'm out of the loop on it.
Sure, it's a fun game. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's hard. It's very hard. I'll say this. The good news is that everybody else also sucks.
Okay.
I had a stream with a bunch of other media guys. Matthew Brune on 3. Oh my God, he wrecked me. But all the other guys, I pretty much got their number. I beat Jalen Collins, a former corner for LSU. Doing all right as long as I'm not playing the computer. That thing is hard.
Well, Bruni's coming on in 45 minutes. I'll get him to detail the annihilation of Team Guy. So we'll do that at straight up 2 o'clock. Let's talk about LSU defensive back recruiting. How big a deal is DJ Pickett committing to the good guys?
Well, that's a massive deal. You're talking about the number 1 corner in the country, a long player who can play safety, multiple positions for you if need be, although most of the scouts are labeling him as a corner at this point. He's a guy who, in this era, there's certain schools you don't want to be going down to the wire with head-to-head, because if it's close, man, these NIL number schools like in Oregon, that makes me nervous. So massive deal that Corey Raymond was able to do that, particularly after the debacle losing Jabari Antoine, who will announce his commitment between Miami and LSU. And, of course, that's another school you don't want to fight with in the NIL era is Miami. But, yeah, no, I think most people in the know were expecting him to pull out the O. And Brian Kelly and Corey Raymond pulled a rabbit out of their hat and got him. And that's a crown jewel. That's the 4th player per the On3 rankings that LSU has for this class that ranks number 1 at his position. And a part of me wonders if Brian Kelly wonders if he'll eventually run out of number 1 players at their position to recruit.
There are only so many of those. That's a true statement. I was actually linked to the Oregon On3 board after it happened, and I was absolutely shocked. All the replies were like, "Oh, well, good luck to the young man. I hope he does well at LSU. It's a tough break for the Ducks. We'll get the next guy." I was like, wait, I thought you're supposed to scream and throw a fit every time you don't get a commitment from a guy. I guess they don't think quite the same out there on the West Coast.
No, Hunt, here's the deal. All the ones screaming and crying go to my Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be applying for employment in Eugene. Not that I say anything wrong. I literally just will put out stuff saying, hey, look, here's Jonah Williams' reaction to the commitment, another guy who took an official visit to both Oregon and LSU. He's, of course, the number 1 safety in the country, who also is a pretty good baseball prospect, although I hear that he would be a fringe recruit for LSU baseball. I'm not an expert in that field, but I certainly know he would be more than welcome on LSU's football team. And, yeah, the Oregon fans did not like sharing that.
Well, they'll have to deal with it. Hopefully LSU can reel him in. Do you feel any differently about Jabari Antoine today than you did a week ago?
No. I still have a gut feeling that, typically when a kid decommits, there's a reason. And I know this was a miscommunication type ordeal. I guess I do feel like it's Miami's to lose. Not to say they can't pull a rabbit out of their hat, because they did it earlier this week. But a lot of the Miami guys are feeling pretty confident that he'll be pulling out the U. So that would be a big miss. You never want to miss a cornerback from New Orleans in your DB coach's home city, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, and so I'm curious. Let's expound upon that. Like, how do you feel about defensive back recruiting with Corey Raymond in this return? Obviously, DJ Pickett's a big get, but then there's one in the backyard at New Iberia that you may come up short on. I realize that we haven't gotten to that part just yet, but as far as the rest of the cycle goes, Antoine goes, Pickett goes, like, how are you feeling collectively about where LSU stands in terms of defensive back?
Exponentially better after DJ Pickett commenced. I mean, a lot better. There was a lot of guys who LSU's been in the conversation for, and frankly, LSU's been in the conversation for these national guys. We're not talking about, I mean, the Steeples and Kerry Cooks, they did a fine job bringing in the Juwan Johnsons of the world, right? The guys who grew up in Louisiana, loving you, all that good stuff. But in terms of national, LSU certainly had more hats on the table with these national guys, similar to what it was back when, Corey Raymond was bringing in the Eli Ricks of the world out of California. It's certainly gone up, but you do eventually have to land these guys. The way the Jabari Antoine situation ran down, where it seemingly was just a disorganization type issue, that did not make me feel good, but it's addressable. It's not like you have a coach who, is just a bad recruiter. It's just a mess up on their part. So I feel better about it. Obviously, we all know there's a lot of work to be done in terms of defensive back recruiting and replenishing this secondary, as awful as it was a year ago. And finding a guy like DJ Pickett is a great start to that. You do have to finish strong, though. You got to get more defensive backs. You're not done yet.
Preston Guy, our guest, TigerBait.com for all your LSU football and recruiting news. You can check him out there at TigerBait. He's with us every single Friday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. SEC predicted order of finish from media days, which doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, but it's a little bit of content for us here. LSU picked fifth. It was fifth. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU right there in front of Missouri, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. How do you feel about that?
I think they got it right. I really do. I mean, I think LSU's going to be a pretty good team. I think they're going to be right on the cusp, right there. It's one of the things that caught me off guard was seeing LSU 2.5-point favorites over Bama and Ole Miss. And I think I'd be surprised if LSU wins both of those games this year, and both those teams were picked above them. So kind of funny that Vegas had them, winning those games. But anyways, I think LSU's just right there, just one step below one of the top tier teams in the SEC. I think its defense is not going to be quite there yet, but I can see them going 10-2 somewhere around there, which would put them around fifth in the SEC. It is interesting. This is the first media days where you don't see a pecking order of your SEC West and East. It's a sign of changes to come.
Yeah, just predicted order of finish. How many SEC teams do you think will get in the 12-team playoff? There are 5 spots that are guaranteed to conference champs, and then that group of 5, which leads 7 at large. How many of those do you think go to SEC teams? 2?
2 seems low.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
So,
I don't know. I mean
4 would be 5 of the 12.
Yeah, I know. But you got to think here, like, you're talking about just the at-large spots?
No, I mean just into the playoff. I mean, we all know that they get the conference champs in.
Yeah, so the conference champ is getting in. So there's 1. So in addition to that, I say 2 or 3.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, and you got to think. I mean, there's a whole. It's not a power 5 anymore. It's a power 4.
Right.
So I mean, what's 12 divided by, I guess 11 divided by 4? It should give you, right off the bat, 3 per team, right? Or right under 3. So you tell me that the SEC isn't good enough to go 1 above the average? Yeah, I would say 4 if I'm betting. If you gave me 3.5, I'm taking the over in Vegas. But 5 would be aggressive. That means all of a sudden, like, there's not very many teams represented from other conferences at all. But when you add Texas and Oklahoma to an already stacked SEC, that kind of stuff happens.
Do you have any takeaways from the week in Dallas with any quotes? It's generally not the most newsworthy 4 days, just kind of a chance to kick off football season. But anything stand out to you from the media days?
Yeah, it was kind of a quiet media day session. There really wasn't much going on. I did like Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma's quarterback, coming out and saying, we might silence Death Valley. And you listen to the full quote and you realize like he's not really trying to talk trash, but he did say maybe we score a touchdown and maybe we silence Death Valley. It's like, that's going to be put in locker room. So I did like seeing that. The quiet confidence from Brian Kelly. He seems to think that he's got his procedures and players and stuff in place, despite losing as much as he did on offense and revamping his offense. He has confidence that his program's going in the right direction. He also was very realistic about, we had the number one offense and it wasn't good enough. I think LSU fans appreciate that candor, that, the defense was awful last year. You need to do better, and he's right there with them.
You mentioned Jackson Arnold. Oklahoma's coming in here the last weekend of the season, and I'm excited for that game in a big way. And I realize that you do have to part ways with Auburn. You do part ways with Mississippi State this year, and you don't play those teams that you've played forever and ever. Amen. Does that bother you, or are you okay with Oklahoma coming in as a substitute for Auburn, or would you rather see Auburn here?
I don't know. Screw the old schedule, Hunt.
Okay.
I thought the SEC's old schedule rotation, where you have one rotating opponent, was a mockery of sports. I really did. And it showed no balance, no unity as a comp. It takes less time now to play the whole conference than it did before, and there you added two teams in there. That is the symptom of a broken system before that, has been remedied. Rivalries are great. I think you could still have a good rivalry with Auburn playing them every other year. What wasn't great was the equity and fairness of determining an SEC champion. Particularly, you look at situations like, you have one permanent opponent from the SEC East, and then the other 6, you're going to get one of. Okay, so basically, your permanent opponent has a huge impact on who your chances of winning the conference. Ole Miss got Vanderbilt. You think they were pretty happy with that situation? Meanwhile, LSU had to go to the swamp, go to Florida, play Tim Tebow. I mean, it was an absurd system. It truly is one of those things that just blows my mind how we allowed that to go down for 10 years, one rotating opponent. It wasn't great before Texas A&M and Missouri joined, and they had 2 rotating opponents and one permanent. Going to one was just a joke. And
who could forget that classic LSU-Kentucky every year rivalry? Can't believe we let that go by the wayside.
I know, right?
Have a good weekend, Preston. We appreciate it, man.
All right, see you on.
Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.